Last month, the judge slapped her with a temporary restraining order, stopping her from making any appointments without getting the trustees' approval first.
Well, there is more high drama in the village of Dalton tonight, where embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard is.
Political chaos is swirling around Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor. Henyard, who's both the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, and supervisor of Thornton Township, just got hit with a big political blow. She was blocked from getting on the Democratic ballot for township supervisor. It's a major defeat, especially with scandals piling up and public outrage growing. Now, Henyard faces the very real threat of political collapse. But this isn't just about losing an election. It's about a politician who lived large off taxpayers' money and is now watching her once powerful empire fall apart. Is this the start of Tiffany Henyard's political end?
There are perception issues with it that are right to get attention. Will the court look at those perception issues? Probably not, but the voters.
Picture this: a packed auditorium in Homewood, Illinois, buzzing with tension as the stakes hit their peak. It's the first Democratic caucus in Thornton Township in decades, led by State Senator Napoleon Harris. When Harris walked in, his supporters flooded the room, quickly grabbing all the seats and setting up an easy win. Meanwhile, Henyard's supporters, many rumored to have used township resources, were left shivering outside as the venue hit its 600-person limit. Henyard's crew showed up late, like they always do, but by then, the doors were closing. This wasn't just a logistical mess, it was a full-blown political spectacle.
New drama tonight involving a controversial politician in the south suburbs. Tiffany Henyard was the only Thornton Township leader to show up for a scheduled...
When the caucus kicked off, it took just 7 minutes, for Harris and his team to sweep up the Democratic nomination for April's election, crushing Henyard's hopes of staying on as township supervisor. Cheers erupted when Harris's name was announced, while Henyard, furious and desperate, accused him of running an illegal meeting. "You didn't do any of this the right way," she shouted, her voice shaking with frustration. But this wasn't just outrage, it was panic. Without a spot on the Democratic ticket, her only shot now is as a write-in candidate, a near-impossible gamble.
New legal battle brewing in Dalton between the mayor and some village trustees.
As Regina Waldrop explains, it has a lot to do with 2 meetings held earlier this.
Henyard's protest didn't get far. Harris and his team had played by the rules. Despite her accusations of voter suppression and unfair practices, they met every requirement, including a full slate with a certified assessor, something Henyard's camp failed to do. Harris's attorney, Burton Audulon, shut down her claims. This process has been in place for decades. It's legal, it's fair, it was done right. Critics were quick to point out Henyard's own history of bending rules when it suited her. This isn't just about a caucus, it's about years of controversy. Lavish spending of taxpayer money, allegations of corruption, and poor management have dogged her tenure. Frustration among residents of Thornton Township and Dalton is at an all-time high. One fed-up resident summed it up perfectly. "She's done nothing but embarrass this community. It's time for her to go." And go she might, but not without a fight.
Clown! We will continue to speak out against wrongdoing.
Why won't you step down?
Henyard's reaction to her defeat was as over-the-top as ever. She stormed out of the auditorium with a few loyal supporters trailing behind, while the crowd chanted, "Say goodbye." The irony was hard to miss. Henyard, who had a reputation for shouting over critics and shutting down opposing voices, was now being silenced by her own constituents. "Karma's a thing," one observer said, and they weren't wrong. For years, Henyard wielded power arrogantly, using her dual roles as mayor and supervisor to tighten her grip. But now it looks like her reign is finally crumbling. The public's anger isn't just about her political games. It's about the real damage her leadership has done. Thornton Township is facing serious financial troubles, many linked to Henyard's administration. Investigations into her spending have revealed outrageous expenses, tens of thousands on first-class flights, luxury hotels, fancy dinners, and that infamous $3,000 Amazon shopping spree in a single day. Residents have had enough, and their frustration is boiling over.
She leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now...
Henyard's reckless spending isn't the only thing drawing outrage. Her leadership style has been just as controversial. Critics say she's combative and dismissive, regularly shutting down anyone who dares to challenge her in public meetings. One former official even called her a bully, saying she treats anyone who disagrees with her like an enemy. This abrasive attitude hasn't just alienated her colleagues, it's driven a wedge between her and the community. More and more, residents are fed up feeling ignored and disconnected from a government that's supposed to represent them.
2025, yet Tiffany Henyard has officially decided she wants to stay as mayor despite the cloud of controversy.
As if things couldn't get worse for Henyard, her legal troubles have cast an even darker shadow over her crumbling administration. The FBI investigation into her financial dealings has reportedly widened to include close allies, some accused, of shady, even fraudulent activities on her behalf. One of the most damning moments? A top police officer and Henyard loyalist was recently indicted for bankruptcy fraud. Yet another scandal fueling demands for accountability. But this isn't just about bad leadership anymore. It's about deep-rooted corruption. And the people of Thornton Township have had enough. Even Henyard's cancer charity, the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, is under fire. The Illinois Attorney General ordered it to stop soliciting donations after questions arose about how the money was being spent. Meanwhile, outrage is growing over her use of township buses to ferry supporters to the caucus, a move critics say is yet another blatant misuse of public resources. As one frustrated commenter put it, just because she's getting the boot doesn't mean she and her cronies shouldn't be indicted for corruption. And they're not alone. The calls for justice are growing louder by the day.
But you don't even have a sense to even look in our face. But you rather just steal our money and do what you want to do.
With the walls closing in, Henyard's future looks grim. The FBI is reportedly investigating her administration, and legal experts warn that if she's found guilty of any wrongdoing, the consequences could be severe. This isn't just about politics, it's about accountability, one analyst said. And accountability might mean real legal trouble. With multiple investigations underway and lawsuits stacking up, Henyard is staring down both political and legal disaster. Despite everything, Henyard remains defiant. In a fiery press conference after the caucus, she boldly declared, "The show will go on." But to many, her words sounded empty. Even her most loyal supporters are starting to waver. While one ally, Keith Price, tried to stay hopeful, suggesting, enough people might know Henyard's name to write it in on the ballot. Even he didn't sound too sure. The truth is, Henyard's political career is on life support, and it's only a matter of time before it flatlines.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement in a...
Meanwhile, Harris and his team are pushing ahead, gearing up for the April election and promising to focus on what really matters to the community. A former NFL player turned successful businessman, Harris has vowed to bring transparency and accountability to Thornton Township. His victory at the caucus sent a clear message. Residents are fed up and ready for real change. As for Henyard, her next move is anyone's guess. Will she keep pouring time and money into legal battles that might go nowhere, or will she finally back down and let the community recover? Either way, one thing's certain. Her political career is in freefall, and there may be no saving it. The public's reaction to Henyard's downfall has been brutal. Social media is flooded with comments from residents and political watchers, most calling this a long overdue reckoning. Tiffany used to shout people down in meetings. Now she's the one getting shouted down. Karma and justice in action, one commenter wrote. The sentiment is clear. The community is ready to move on, with or without Henyard.
Point the finger to Tiffany or allow me. I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
While many are celebrating, there's also lingering frustration. Plenty of residents feel that Henyard's damage to the township runs deep, and fixing it won't happen overnight. We'll be cleaning up her mess for years, one frustrated taxpayer said, but at least now, we finally have a chance to move forward. So what's next for Thornton Township? Can Harris deliver on his promises and rebuild trust in local government? And what about Henyard? Will she finally face legal consequences or somehow find a way to claw her way back into politics? The answers remain unclear, but one thing's for sure. This story isn't over. What do you think? Will Harris be the leader Thornton Township desperately needs, or is this just the latest chapter in a never-ending political soap opera? And as for Henyard, does she deserve a second chance, Or is it time for her to step aside once and for all? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.